Over 18 million adults every single year experience some type of depression. Seasonal depression is extremely tough for many people, and a lot of things impacting it might be outside of our control, especially the weather and time changes, cooler temperatures, and less sun exposure. In this video today, I want to discuss what is seasonal depression, its impacts on the body, and what are some things that you can do on your own to improve your mood, as well as your mental health and well-being. For those of you new to my channel, I'm Caroline DiMasquita, a holistic practitioner. I've been working in this space for almost 8 years now in several aspects. I have a big passion around women's hormones health, as well as our mental well-being. And even now, during my pregnancy, I'm experiencing depression. And that's something I want to be transparent in talking about today. Honestly, it's not super common to get, but it can happen. And every single pregnancy is going to be different. This video is going to be talking about the impacts of depression and the ways that you can overcome it on your own without necessarily needing medical intervention. Now, I mentioned a statistic in the very beginning that 18 million adults get depression every single year. This can be based on several different things in their lives: work, relationships, money, the environment, gut health, hormones, and just the way that we have emotional maturity and thought processes. Those are a lot of different factors that go into this. Now, something that brings us to even more of a forefront is depression is the primary causation to suicide. And we know that the suicide rates have only been skyrocketing the past several years. So I want to make sure, if you're watching this video and you've experienced depression, or you have a friend that's experienced depression, one of the most important things is to help them know they are not alone and that it is totally okay to seek help. And that's something that, even for myself, it took quite a bit of time for me to feel confident enough and in supporting my own health journey to seek a counselor, to seek medical advising on if I needed to go on a specific supplement or a drug to help with my mental cognition and well-being. But no, there are tools out there. There are plenty of ways you can do it on your own, but I always recommend the best way is with a group of supportive people around you who love you and care about you. So the first thing I want to discuss is what actually causes these mood swings or dips. First thing from a science and biochemistry level is we produce neurotransmitters in our body. Those signal to the brain to produce different chemicals that are in turn telling us how we are feeling. A majority of these neurotransmitters, 70% to 80%, are produced in the gut. Now, you may have been very familiar with serotonin or dopamine, which are two that are very commonly talked about. And that's what's really important today, is recognizing if something in our current environment might be lowering our serotonin and dopamine. The main difference between serotonin and dopamine is serotonin is known for the happiness, focus, and calmness in our life. Dopamine is typically associated with our motivation or having a reward. So we've talked about two different neurotransmitters that can be impacting depression. There's another hormone that can also impact depression, and that's oxytocin, which is that feel-good hormone that's typically produced having some type of physical interaction with a friend, giving someone a hug, having intercourse, or having some type of bonding with another person. In addition to these three, we do have the potential of a gut imbalance, which, like I mentioned earlier, most of the neurotransmitters are produced in the gut. However, if we have something as simple as leaky gut, we can start to notice that our mood or even our brain processing is slowed, or maybe our memory is getting less than ideal. That can be an easy thing to evaluate is your gut health. Additionally, checking lab work to see if there's any other hormones that might be out of whack can impact our mood and potential risk for depression. Low vitamin D levels and B12 levels, high cortisol, low iron levels, high SHBG levels. Most of these can be stress induced, and that's going to be a main conversation piece, is how do we get our stress managed to help prevent and overcome depression. So those are the main causations to some of these things happening in our body. Now, what are some ways that we can approach them? First and foremost, I will say that today's healthcare system does have a lot of options. If you are someone that works with a medical provider or a primary care practitioner and they have a great recommendation for you, awesome. When it comes to pharmaceutical drugs, there are several on the market for antidepressants. I will caveat, however, there is long-term research that there could be potential negative health effects. However, I do know there are many cases where they have shown benefit and help that person overcome their severe depression so that they in turn can become more themselves and find a way to naturally mitigate some of these mood swings or hormone imbalances within their body. I personally have not been on any myself, but I do know several people that it has almost saved their life. And I want to emphasize that it is not something to be ashamed of. It is something that is helpful and out there for us to help us. And like I said, there's been several years of research showing their improvement for mood support and overcoming depression. This is a tool in the toolbox. It's not one that I'm going to be diving deeper into in this video. But what we are going to be diving deeper into is holistic interventions and ways that you can change your day-to-day activities or routines or supplement and food choices to help with your mood and potential depression. First and foremost, having a morning and night routine is super important for, I think, everyone. Not if you have depression, but if you are trying to optimize your life with your mental health, your physical health, having a regular sleep schedule, having a normal wake-up time is going to be really beneficial on your brain. They've shown studies that most people actually getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep are getting more brain repair in their NREM as well as REM cycles. But it's not just that. Having a normal routine to help you wind down at night, the way you process before bed, and then also the way you start your day is going to have a huge impact on your life in present as well as in the future. I can speak to my own experience that when I started having more of a regimented routine and making time for things that made me feel good, to be grounded every day and focusing on what I can control, I actually felt like I didn't need to have control of my life as much because these were habits that I already instilled, and in turn, I was a better human from it. Some of these might be as simple as a morning journaling practice. What are your intentions for the day? Writing down things that you're grateful for, things that you're excited about. Focusing on the present moment as much as possible. When it comes to first thing in the morning during this time of year, getting light upon wake up is going to be super beneficial. I have clients and friends that wake up super early to commute to their office job. That's obviously something that's hard to mitigate, but something that I am implementing now after getting my most recent labs is a happy light. This Vera Lux happy lamp. They have regular stand-up ones you could put on your desk or on your makeup stand that when you're getting ready in the morning. Just having 10 to 20 minutes of exposure of a 10,000 fluorescent white light has been shown to help improve your mood. I've been trialing with this for about a week now, and I've already seen the benefits from it. So that's something that even Luke enjoys a morning routine together, right, buddy? Yeah. So that's something that's been really helpful for me so far, is just getting light in the morning. Now, another piece to this is if you can get outside, I do highly recommend getting natural sunlight to your skin. As the temperatures get colder, it definitely gets harder. So this is a way to get around that just a little bit. Another thing that's helpful in the mornings is to move your body in some way. And I'm not just talking about going around the house, putting your bag together, getting your breakfast, and running out the door. I'm talking about some intentional movement, whether it's stretching, a quick HIIT workout, maybe it's some yoga, or even a walk. Something as simple as that, 10 minutes in the morning, can help start your day on a positive note. We know that working out releases endorphins. What does endorphins do? It boosts our mood. We've talked about the morning routine. Now, when it comes to a nightly routine, what does that look like? I will recommend winding down about an hour before your normal bedtime. When I say winding down, that doesn't mean getting television exposure. That doesn't mean swiping on TikTok or Instagram. It means you're doing something to help your brain relax, to maybe journal, draw, color, listen to music. This actually is a great time to do a skincare routine if that's something you're trying to get into. Giving yourself a massage. Reading is another great one. Something that's going to help you relax. A lot of people say watching television with my family relaxes me. There are studies showing from several leading psychologists, depending on what type of shows you watch, this might actually be triggering a trauma response in your brain, especially those crime shows, action films, things that are more drama related. You're actually not relaxing. And I know for myself, like, I don't like horror films usually, but if I watch them before bed, I can't sleep well. And that's from my personal experience. I don't know about you, but comment below if this is something that resonates. When it comes to your sleep routine, having a dark room, having either a noise machine or putting in earplugs, which is something I have to do, and making sure that the temperature is good, that there's enough moisture in the air for you to breathe well at night, and you've got a supportive pillow and mattress. That's sleep hygiene in my book. And what is that gonna do? It's helping us repair our body and brain so we can overcome some of these mood challenges. So we talk about the morning and the night routine. Now, what are specific ways that we can optimize our day-to-day, and maybe it's something like our gut health that we're worried about? Food choices are gonna be really important. The more food you cook on your own, the better off you usually are, and I've learned that from personal experience the past several years. Eating out, we usually don't know all the additives in there. There's nothing wrong with sodium, but salting your own food is usually a lot better than getting some that's processed in a drive-through or at a restaurant. Additionally, the added sugars can impact our gut health and our brain, and we know that it has a very similar response to almost the same way cocaine does on the brain and becoming an addiction. When we're addicted to something, if we don't have it, that definitely impacts our mood. I know for me, if I go a long time without sugars, I feel way better than if I introduce something and then the next day I'm gonna crave it again. Additionally, adding in more whole foods, whether it's fruits, veggies, proteins, things that aren't as processed, you're usually gonna feel better on, at least I do. I talked about movement in the morning, but in general, I highly recommend regular exercise and daily movement. I'm not saying you have to lift weights every day. What I am saying is making time to move your body, not only to challenge yourself, but to feel good in your body, is definitely going to impact your mood in the long run. And they have various studies talking about this as well. And most people who work out regularly do feel better in their mind and body. So making it a regular habit, something for me that works well, if I'm not going to the gym, I try and walk 8,000 to 10,000 steps every day. That doesn't always work for people, but I always recommend trying to make stretching in the morning or night a routine. Or if you have an office job, taking mini breaks to go walk around your office floor or stretching at your desk can be really helpful too. Last but not least, we talked about oxytocin levels. The easiest way to increase your natural oxytocin is to hold someone's hand, give a big hug, smile at them. And if you have pets, they can help increase your oxytocin too. So those are some holistic interventions. Now I want to talk about the supplementation. So when it comes to a holistic approach, usually I'm looking at natural herbs and remedies that have been scientifically studied and showing data to improve mood as well as that hormone support. Like we talked about before, having labs to know what's actually going on internally can be a big benefit when you select what supplements to add in. I know a lot of people try to add in everything that they can to improve their mood, but sometimes that's not the best approach because then you won't really know what's working. So I always start off incremental, and then if we have to build from there, we build. And that's usually what it starts off with. Now, some that I actually lean into more so for brain and mood support, L-tyrosine in the morning, NAC, electrolytes, omegas in your diet, or adding in an omega fish oil supplement, and CME have all scientific backing for them. Ashwagandha is also one of the most scientifically researched for stress and cortisol support. Now, of this list I just shared, most of these are not advised during pregnancy. So what am I doing? Well, at this time, I actually am only adding in ashwagandha as needed, as you guys might see in my last video about my supplements. I am adding in NAC, which has shown to help me dramatically. I've already felt a difference. And then on my labs, my SHBG levels were elevated, so I am starting to add in some boron to help with that in naturally lowering it as well. So these are just a few things and considerations. Additionally, if you need more support for your sleep, there's gonna be several different precursors for dopamine and L-DOPA that you can add in to help with improving your sleep and your REM cycle. But once again, this is going to be very bio-individual. Melatonin is probably the most researched when it comes to sleep supplements. So starting off low, and I mean like 0.25 to 0.5. Don't start with 1 milligram. Start low, slowly increase from there. I also like L-glycine, very cheap, affordable, starting at 3 grams right before bed. Usually is pretty helpful for people. The one supplement I forgot to mention, magnesium. And you guys know, I just talked about it in the last video. It's one of my favorites, but it does help promote relaxation. So that is something I am adding in during this pregnancy to help with my sleep as well as some of my depression. So we covered a lot in this video about mood support, seasonal depression, and depression. So now the next question is, Carolina, I've done all these things. I still feel hopeless. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with finding a therapist or a counselor to talk through some of your challenges. And a lot of times that's what we need, is someone to listen to us, someone to make us feel heard and seen. And sometimes just having a journaling practice doesn't always do that. So something that I recommend is not only practicing what you preach and having a journal and supporting yourself, but investing in someone with additional experience and education in psychology that can help you on your path as well. Once again, there's nothing wrong with this. I will say for me recently, yoga has been a huge mood booster as well to help me get out of my mind and thinking too much and focusing on my body and focusing on that present moment, what I'm capable of in the now, right here.